right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to FanSpeak. And today we're going to be sitting and have some chat about things that are going on in Indicron, and we're going to talk about some news. And we're really, really happy to have you all join us here. I will save all the links and stuff here till we have a few more people. And I'm late on purpose. Yes, I am, Joshua. I am monitoring you, sir. I have been watching. Remember that. And all your sock puppets. But nevertheless, let's come over here and talk to the crew we got on here today. And we have Bill from Argos Creations, and he is the creator here of Manticore. How you doing, sir?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Glad to be here. Friday, Friday, best day of the week. It's been a long week, and being able to chillax, sit back, and talk about comics with my bros is so awesome.
It is
So,
actually, yeah. And of course, for me, it's Saturday actually. It's a beautiful Saturday morning. My wife is moving around here as usual. She's one of those people that never stops moving. You know, that type of mother that's always moving. That's
oh
her.
yeah,
Yeah, so she kind of doesn't like that. It's always fun. And occasionally she'll come over and she thinks it's funny that she'll come and sit in my lap while I'm talking here, and I have to act like she's not there because she thinks it's funny. It's her sense of humor.
that's hilarious. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
So
I've never noticed you beat. You're smooth, man. I've never noticed in your voice that you have a woman sitting on your lap. That's talent, man. You're
well,
good.
thank you very much. I've had that happen many times in my life, actually, so maybe I'm accustomed to it.
Hey.
Stripper story time reference. Oh my God. Um, but
Dun, dun,
we shall not do that here. Denali would become very cross with me, I do believe. Speaking of Denali, hello, man.
Hello, how's it going?
I'm doing great, dude. Very happy here. We got our Tales from Beyond the Gate has launched, and we've started making some money on it. It's really cool, man. I can't wait to get the thing done and get it in my hands, dude. And everybody's going to be able to get in their hands by September. Therefore, perfect for October and the Halloween season, man. It's awesome.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yep, and that's totally awesome. We're almost 15% through our fixed goal, so awesome. Thank you guys for supporting the book.
Thank
In
you. And
just
I'm
about 12, in just about 12 hours. We're
Yeah, no, we haven't
15%.
even been a day yet. It is really, really cool. And the one thing I've also noticed is they're already seeing improvements and upgrades and adds to the page as it goes along. That's going to be a really cool thing, I think. And also a good learning process for us to see the growth of the page itself. How things get added, when colors done here and there, because you got to understand, guys, as this project is going on, there's actual work being done, right? It's a little bit different from some of the other projects you've seen. There's a whole bunch of work that's already done, and it's continuously under being worked on as we speak. So as this
You
project
know,
goes on, we'll be showing more and more. Yeah.
and the other unique thing about this project that other projects don't have is this project has a lot of stream, content. I mean, you have Good Dog Press, John Dillard, FanSpeak, and myself. I'm going to start streaming this as you'll see the progress and know your investment is going to pay off because you'll see it
hmm
live. It's going to be amazing.
Oh yeah, and there's a lot of other streams we're going to be able to get on and talk about it too. A lot of things are set up, so it's going to be an interesting campaign. I think we're going to be quite exhausted, but hey, hey, hey. Jimmy Ortiz is here, and he says, "Is there work being done?" Yeah, continuously. Everybody's working on things all the time,
Yeah, you
and it
missed it
is.
last night, Jimmy. We were doing all pinups all last night. It was great.
Hey, George is over there. Hey, George, you want to come in here and sit and chat with us, dude? I was talking to you yesterday. Would you like to come over? Just let me know. But anyway, let's come over here. We also, of course, as usual, we have the chairman with us. So, Mr. Chairman, are you ready for your address, sir? He is muted,
Can't
so
say anything if I don't unmute myself.
this is true. Well, everybody, the chairman's address.
Sharp dressed man.
Yep.
We have indeed launched the Tales from Beyond the Gate comic book. And it's often the case where a name means more than what's there. And we actually have taken upon a nice name for ourselves that have been working on this, and that is called the Gatekeepers,
Ooh.
which is, of course, a little tongue in cheek
Mhm.
because we know that Ethan Van Sciver has often been called a gatekeeper, in the sense that he may hold back someone, another independent writer, from having popularity or getting material out. Well, in this particular case, Tales from Beyond the Gate, has been completely orchestrated by a lot of members of independent comics and has even reached out to Ethan Van Sciver. So in this sense, of course, Ethan Van Sciver is not a gatekeeper in that sense of keeping someone back. But interestingly, what does Tales from Beyond the Gate mean? The gate, what gate is this? Is it a gate that is in front of a graveyard or a creepy old house? Well, as far as stories go, yes, that is interesting for this comic book. But in a larger sense of Comics Gate, what we have is a story that is beyond the gate that has been kept by the greater industries at large. That's
Yes,
right.
That's
Those
right.
industries that have been wanting to keep out independent creators and conservative-minded people and anyone who just happens to say, hey, we want a great comic with great art. So in this sense, Tales from Beyond the Gate is now beyond that old gate. We're doing something new, doing something different, and completely unifying the Comics Gate community within a story that is beyond the gate brand kept by that greater industries at large. That's right. Uh-oh, effect. Those industries that have been wanting to keep out independent creators and
All right. Something
yeah,
went a little
YouTube.
wiry there.
That's right. And
sorry about that.
So in this regard, keep that in mind as you go to Indicron and you're looking at what to back, and that know that when you're backing Tales from Beyond the Gate, you're backing the greater the community, and you're also telling that industry that has been trying to keep that gate closed, that we now are busting that gate open. Thank you. But of course, that's just what I'm saying. What are the fans saying? Welcome Beyond the Gate to FanSpeak.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Chairman. I do apologize. I should have sent the link to George here after you had finished speaking, so blame me for that. How you doing,
We're all
George?
good.
Greetings, everybody. Greetings.
Hey, Todd, you nailed it on the head, man. That's exactly right. This is about you, me, anyone who wants to be creative, share their story. There is no boundaries anymore. You can do it. And if you want to do it with us, you can join us, and we're going to do it with you. And we'll do it together, and there's strength in numbers. We help each other out, get your work to a point where it's like, man, people will read it and understand and know it and enjoy it. You know, we're critiquing each other, we're teaching each other, and man, and it's a joy to see the growth in different writings and different art, and the best part is now seeing it live on Indiegogo and being able to sell it to people and be able to have that experience, where that intimate experience that only comic book media has, where the creator has that singular level between the audience. It's pencil, paper, and ink straight to the audience. No other media like that. There's no one in between. There isn't a bunch of producers, directors. There's not a lot of money in between. It's straight up, this is my story. Here you go. Enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, you said something interesting there about critiquing each other as a community. And we do that a lot. And it's funny, though, a little behind the scenes thing that's been going on for everybody listening is we've done that a lot with ourselves, a lot. Between the scripts, the art, how everything goes together, there's been a lot of critique. You know, some of these artists will say something to another one, you know, hey, Todd, you know, our other Todd. You know, he'll come in here and he'll say something to John or say something to Manny and say something to Bill and about how something goes. The writers as well. You know, I'm working with Eric and I'll tell him that I want this to be done a certain way, or why is that art that way on that particular demon? And then he'll come around and he'll tell me, well, the panel progression on this for this page that you wrote, you know, it doesn't work well. And so we work all that out. And of course, with that critique, you get a better product overall. And so as that happens within the greater community, just remember, because that'll happen between books and when we talk about Indicron and what's on Indiegogo and how a page is laid out, it's all to help things get better and to make these comic books better and for us to make more money in the long run, right?
Sure.
Well, and we're not doing this to be rich and make money. We're doing this to make more comics.
Yes.
We're gonna make more.
Yeah.
Yeah, this project is for seed money. That's the purpose. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And the cool thing about it too is after we're done and the project is out, we're of course we'll probably put out a more truncated version of it, maybe into the stream of things as well. We were talking about maybe doing that as well. So
You're
it's
saying more. Was that truncated or trumpiated?
either or, I guess.
Yeah.
It's 2020. Hey, but yeah, Tales from Uganda Gate is really cool. I'm happy to see this thing coming together, and there's so many little because there's so many people involved in the project. There's so many little stories like that, right? The interaction between the writers and the artist, and talking to each other and giving advice and things like that. And it's going to continue more and more and more, especially now that the project is underway. I think that's going to pick up even, in a great way, and that's a lot of fun. But hey, George, I was just talking to you yesterday. Nice to see you on here today. How's it going?
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh
Thank you
no,
very much.
no problem, dude. George here is an artist, and you've put out many, many comics. How many comics you made so far in your life?
25, I think.
Wow.
Uh,
Gotcha.
it started off in 1990 and have continued since.
Yeah, now George here is interesting. Not only has he done all those comics, but George is also a person who understands marketing quite well. He does quite a bit of that, and he gave us some really good advice, which I appreciate. Thank you very much for that, George. Yeah, you are extremely knowledgeable about this whole process, actually. Having George on it, I guess, is pretty interesting. So let's take a little bit of a moment before we'll do the news and stuff later as usual. This is FanSpeak, so we like to talk more about things that are going on or talk to interview guests or what have you. So let's take some a little bit of time here with George. Now, you understand this Indiegogo, this crowdfunding, and all and not just the analytics of it. You understand like the structure of how the pages are laid out, the flow of money and logistics and things like that. So, why don't we start out with a simple question for you, George? What do you think should be what do you think about a lot of the page layouts and the page setups you've been seeing out of this Comicsgate and the umbrella that it encompasses? What do you think about the projects people have been putting out and their layouts? Do you think they're being made for success, or do you have some suggestions?
I definitely do have suggestions. One, I cannot comment on the artistic merit of the artist because art is art. Yeah, one person's stick figure is another person's Rembrandt. What I can comment on is the technical backbone of your creativity, and that is my primary concern in all this that is going on with Comicsgate, is that we have so much talent coming together and projecting themselves into the marketplace. It's absolutely spectacular. It's stunning, actually. And what is really troublesome, worrisome from my point of view, is that while the artists are tremendously talented, there's not a lot of technical aspects in terms of how to structure a profitable delivery system. Meaning, you know how to draw this stuff, great. You know how to call up a printer and find out, for X thousands of books printed, you'll get this, it'll cost you this much money. Okay, great. But, have you sourced out the cost of the packaging to ship out the product? Have you sourced out the cost of the filler, the bubble wrap to send out? Have you sourced out exactly to the gram, how much the mailing is going to cost at certain levels? At 250 grams, it's going to cost you this much. At 500 grams, it's going to cost you this much. At 750, at 1,000 grams, it's going to cost you this much. Well, if you're within a margin of a certain level, then you can, stuff the ballot box, so to speak, and send out more product and still be frugal in your savings in terms of shipping.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also the other aspect, is the more insidious as I would say, the devil's in the details, is that there's a lot of money that's flowing, but no one really pays attention to the tax man at the end of the year. If you bring in $1 and your expenditure is, say, 60, 70 cents, well, that remaining money is going to get eaten up very quickly by the end of the year.
That's right.
Or by the end of the project. You have to go under a very simple rule of investment. For every $1 that you spend, you should be bringing in at least $4.
Wow,
And
yeah, tripling, right?
that is a safe buffer.
Yeah. Now that's really interesting, actually, in the conversations I was having with you. See, I didn't even take into account that the box and the bubble wrap itself actually goes into the thing. I would think my brain was telling me the weight of the object is what's being weighed, but no, no, no. The box, the bubble wrap, all the packaging is part of the weight too. So they're charging you money to use their packaging.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
it's crazy, right?
So when you're having a reward, you have to take into account the cost of the book, the cost of the bubble wrap, the cost of the box itself, the cost of the additional items that you have in that box.
Mhm.
All that is weightage, and then when you're actually prepared to send out, of course, the shipping cost is there too. But then another insidious thing that you don't know is the tariffs. These are random. These are not automatic. If you put in, I'm just suggesting here, this is just hypothetical, but if you put in the value of $100, that product's going to be, flagged at the border, and the person who's receiving it will pay, a pretty penny to have it released
Yes.
into their custody.
No, I have
But
personal experience with that actually, George. I lived in Hawaii for 7 years, and her parents would send us things here or there, and it's supposed to be random. As you said, it's supposed to be random. It's not random because every package I had come in from Japan got taxed. Every one. So yeah, I don't
right.
believe in that random nonsense. And they do it the opposite direction too. This is a pretty big issue. But I think what he's laying out here, and I think it's very interesting, is there is a lot more that goes into a project than just let's do it, right? And I know yesterday we
Right.
were talking a little bit about with shipping and stuff, and we spent a lot of time yesterday with George, which I do appreciate that quite a lot, George. I really do. Trying to
And so
figure
now,
a way to lower that shipping. We can't. It just is what it is. We know it's $35, but it is $35. That's the only way we can't get around it. Now I know most of the backers in a project, of course, going to be from America. That's the way it works. But here in this community, this is an international community. We're from all over the world, so we do have a certain percentage. It's a low percentage, but we do have a certain percentage that will get it from outside the United States, including me. And that's just the way it is. The shipping has
You know,
gone absolutely insane, and there's no way
and
to cut
when you
it.
look at when a campaign earns enough, or it has enough backers, or it's highly successful, then there's different options. With resources, there come more options, and there's ideas where you can ship from Asia, or let's say it's being printed in Asia. If you ship from Asia to New Zealand or
That's right.
Australia, there's a
That's
different
right.
rate.
Yeah, and George talked about that actually.
So,
But the problem is the what it comes right
yeah,
down to, Bill, is we don't have access to direct marketing. That's the issue. We don't. We're here in the this indie revival community. We don't have access to that direct marketing thing that the big boys and that get and with Diamond and stuff like that get access to. We don't, and that's why shipping is absolutely killing us. But, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is, right? But yeah, it's
may,
yeah.
may, may I add to that?
Please,
It's
yeah,
I'll just qualify that with a little more detail. Yes, you don't have access to it because of your knowledge of not knowing. That's the crux of the situation. I'll give you a perfect example. Not knowing is usually the problem, but you want to know something? Um, the reason why these big companies have direct marketing is because they have the resource of people, the middlemen,
yeah,
the managers. You have the artist, you have the editor, the manager, and then you have everybody else, all that stuff. Well, you don't have a dedicated person to actually pick up the phone, roll up the sleeves, and figure out the logistics. But I can tell you with a certainty, if all the artists here, everyone who's in Comicsgate, if they all took a moment to learn the basics of what I'm trying to impress on everybody, they will be so much further ahead. Every time they draw a page, every time they come up with an idea, they're able to buffer that idea with the padding that it takes to get that idea into the customer's hands.
Yeah.
So that way, your ideas continue to flow even better, even faster. Why? Because you already know what your technical limitations are, and you're able to creatively create something and know that 5 steps ahead, this is how I'm going to get it to that person without trying to figure it out after I've produced the artwork.
Yeah, what you're saying is really interesting to me, because I used to do this. I had this job where I was called strategic quotes, and what I would do is I would source material, figure out every single process involved in producing that material, raw material, into its finished piece, every cost, whether it was, how much it cost to ride the rails, what it paid for customs, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. So I would have the initial laden cost for one tiny little piece of industrial manufactured threaded device.
That's exactly what I've been doing in marketing, advertising, and branding for 30 years.
Yeah, and I really haven't. I've been so involved in learning my pen strokes and learning my composition that I totally forgot the entire world of this industry. And I'm really grateful that you're on, because that just blew my mind. I was like, I know that. I did that for hours. I would build spreadsheets that were longer than my houses, just ginormous spreadsheets calculating lading cost for one small, I knew exactly how much everything cost. And that's a key part of production and manufacturing, that as artists and writers, we have really, we're so involved in our craft that we're not looking at the business end.
That's right.
And yeah.
And George is very, is really.
Sorry to interrupt. I need to. What you just said, sir, is perfect. You understand the structure. It doesn't matter what the business is. It could be McDonald's or whatever, or it could be.
Right, yeah.
You understand the structure, and that's important. If everybody understands the structure, they're able to apply it within the discipline that they're using.
And to be quite honestly, that structure, even though it sounds complex, it's so simple. It really is very, very basic. It's step A, the end point is B, and what it takes you to get there. You just have to take the time to dissect it. And once you do that, you just start putting, pennies and dollars signs to all those different steps, and you're done. And it takes just, like you said, rolling up your sleeves and making some phone calls.
Yeah.
But it's not rocket science.
Part of that is what we're talking about here. So George has now put the information out, right? It comes down to people listening, and because there's a vast different amount of experience level of each individual person across all of our different backgrounds, right? So because some of us have actually thought about some of the things you guys are talking about, because we're not just the artists, right? But we're a fan, and we want to help create, or at least we want to see a distribution model, right? Yeah. So then we get involved, and we keep trying to come up with the next idea. And there's a lot, like Pixel Trader, for instance. He's been trying to come up with the ideas of how to do these things. And so in the long run, this will slowly, I believe, coalesce, because there's a lot of things that go on. There's ego. You have to give room for ego, and you have to even value someone's ego in this particular field, because everyone's project is the best project, right?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. That's interesting. Let me jump over here to the chat real quick. And we see Beowulf is in here.
Well,
He's saying hello to everybody.
I gotta slightly disagree about ego, because if you have the biggest ego, that doesn't mean that your project will get through to the customer. So if your ego becomes a hindrance, then that's a problem unto itself.
True.
Right,
People don't want to work with those who are egotistical.
I know Booster's gotten way out of hand. I agree.
It's really it's really one of the biggest hindrances that actually gets in the way of the other strengths that we do have, and there's a lot of strengths.
Yeah.
But it certainly does take a level of confidence to be able to go out and give things a shot and get outside of your box and risk. And that's what we're doing. And that's the kind of egos we need. You know, that's the ego part that is appreciative and understanding.
Yeah.
And Denali brings up Denali, you totally bring up the kind of red flag that you have to be aware of too when you're in a business, you know.
True. All right, let me respond to the chat here, guys. We have El Crudo. He says anyone can make comics their business. Kudos. Yeah, everybody can. It just is more expensive when we don't have a structure. But we, as the guys have been saying, we've been saying for quite a while, there is structure that is starting to, amorphously come together. And it will. We got to all keep in mind this whole indie revival thing is only going on a short time. Then we have Beowulf. Now, Beowulf makes a very interesting comment here, and I'll give my opinion on it. And you guys, I think this is worth a full panel answer, actually. Why is it cheaper to send packages from Australia to the U.S. than it is to get packages from the U.S.? Seems strange to me. Well, here's the thing, and this is what the Orange Man Bad has been complaining about, actually. And even though everyone calls Trump stupid, or they say all these silly things about Trump, this dude ain't stupid at all. Because what he's railing against is the simple fact that all the other countries in the world try to take advantage of America. Now, to be fair, America set that up. That has been being built for quite a long time. But what Trump is saying is we need to go back to have a fair balance between the countries, because for a long time America has been subsidizing the entire planet. And you can see, let's take something that has nothing to do with comics, right? Let's take a look at, say, pharmaceuticals, right? In America, everyone's like, oh, medicines are so expensive, going on and on. We can go to get it cheaper in Canada. Well, why is that? Well, the reason is because all the experimentation for new medicines and pharmaceutical projects are being done in America, and they're paying for it. And then what will happen is other countries will just simply copy it and just give it out, right? So America is paying
Right.
for all the production, America is paying for all the research, America is paying for everything, and then everybody else is just leeching off of it. All right. That's the reality of
Exactly.
it. And when it comes down to something like simply some simple product that you're making, say comic books, it has the same exact effect. Everybody is leeching on the United States for a very long time. And that is what Trump is trying to rail against and stop. Now, if you agree with him or don't, if you think America should be the teat of the world, well, then you and I are going to have a disagreement. But because that's what it is. America is the
For
teat
sure.
of the world.
For sure. Big, round, orange teats.
Yes.
But, you're actually, and that's the laid-in cost. I mean, that affects everything that you're doing, So it is important to understand the environment you're working in.
To add to what you've said is not only a lot of the research and development is happening in the United States. Let me qualify that. A high degree, I believe it's like 70-80% of the research and development and the novelty of creating new processes and products and stuff like that actually happen in the United States. And the reason it happens in the United States is because of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, they keep the work compared to the other.
The protection system is here that you're able to capitalize on your idea. It doesn't exist anywhere else in the world.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that answers the question directly. It is what it is. And Valen says, "Hail Caesar, whose ego has 100,000 subs." Yes, it does.
Yep.
Hey, Samurai Sid says, "Backtails yesterday. That first day print was pretty smart." Oh, thanks, man.
Cool. I'm glad you got that. Cat's line work is great, and that is a clever story by Mr. Chester C. Busby III.
Oh, well, it's a bit depraved, but horror. We can hide under the umbrella of horror, and no one can really realize how depraved we really are.
Until you mentioned it. Good job,
oh, God,
Chester.
No, what did I do?
Yeah.
You're in trouble now.
Yeah.
Oh boy. But yeah, talking about distribution, that's something I've been interested about since we started this program way back in September. Doesn't seem that long ago. And the main thing that's been hurting us has been distributions, because that's where a lot of the cost is going. At the end of the day.
And who started talking about distribution like from the very beginning? Who was that?
I don't know, Chester. Remind me.
I think his
Probably
name
Booster.
is a llama something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the biggest challenge, is getting it in people's hands. You can have a story, you can have an art, you can have the best art in the world, the best story in the world. But if you can't put it on a truck and get it to a store and into someone's hands, it doesn't matter, right?
Right. So that's basically what you have to do. This is the pre-plan before you even do a campaign, before you even do this. If you're going to do self-publishing, you're going to have to work out all that logistic yourself, or get a team like the creator of Lady Death, and put that. You wonder why he has a big giant team that he has to support, because that team is doing all that work for him, launches that campaign, and he gets $1,000 within a couple hours. It's all set, and the price is low, and you go through it. He is a well-run machine. Once you got it done, you'll start making profit where it's sustainable. But until go ahead.
No, sorry, continue. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm really sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, George.
The concern, what you said is, I've heard. It's not. I am in no way trying to put what you said down, or you as a person, but I have experienced this firsthand when all this crowdfunding has happened for so many years. And the thing that artists think is, oh my gosh, my campaign got 60,000, 70,000, 100,000, 200,000, 500,000. We got $1 million in our crowdfunding campaign. Woohoo! That's a red herring. It is a red herring to the nth degree, because if you really break it down, you look at the individual reward and how much that individual reward costs to get it into the hands of the customer. That's, let's just say, $1 million that you brought in. 99% of that money is going out to getting just that reward to that customer. If your margin,
you're
like
definitely right.
a couple of dollars.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, and then that goes back to your earlier point. It's all about understanding your market, understanding your laid-in cost and production costs, and your laid-in cost is production, distribution. It is raw materials. It's time to produce. All those things. You have to have a good grasp for that. And once you understand that, then you can come with a fair market price. And if you if you don't spend that research doing it, then you've killed yourself. So because you could raise, like you said, $1 million. Let's say you did a comic book and it got 200 grand, like Doug did.
Well, I'm not talking. I'm not talking about Doug. Like I said, going back to my point, I was talking about the creator of Lady Death, who has a team. He has a team around him who does all those things that you were talking about.
Yeah, because Polito has 30 years experience in the comic industry.
Exactly.
So he understands all the cost involved. So when he raised, he had record numbers. I can't remember what it was now.
Right.
I think he did like 300 grand in one day. But he also knows that his base cost, in order to fund it, is going to cover X, Y, and Z. Whereas, responding back to what George is saying, that's our deficiency that we need to work on.
Yeah. Well, we also know that this market is multifaceted, and so distribution has to be multifaceted. I said before, where you have the printed book, you've got digital copy, then you have the Amazon distribution where they can order it straight. It's going in multiple routes, and we just got to be prepared to give the fan what they want, how they want it.
Sure. Yeah. And all this this conversation here, I know it's a dry topic, but it's important for what we're doing, because this community is putting out content, right? So it's these are things we need to know about. What I'd like to do is shift the conversation a little bit away from the costs and shift it more into how to mitigate that. But before I do that, let me catch up on a couple little chats here. El Crudo says Canada has a de minimis tariff at $20, lowest in the OECD. In Europe is absolutely lost their mind. Samurai Sid says we pay R&D, which is fine for poor countries, but the EU, etc., is just as wealthy. Yeah, and what do they contribute? They don't. They might have their scientists. There might be a German scientist that made something, but they're doing it in America, right? What does OECD mean, Crudo? Well, that would be a really good question. Beowulf says, is it worth cutting into profits to offset shipping just to get more books into fans' hands? I'm not saying take a loss, just move international books at cost and make profit off the domestic U.S. books. Well, there you go, Beowulf. That's a perfect question to move into the point I'm trying to make. How do we offset those costs and mitigate that with adding content into a project that falls within the weight limits of shipping? Now, George here has some very interesting information on that. So, George, why don't you take it away and explain that a little bit? Because I think this is an important point he's about to make.
Okay. When you're shipping something out, the Canada Post, I'm just going to use Canada Post as an example. You can extrapolate this to the United States postal system and everywhere else in the world. Canada Post will say to you, well, you know what? Are you 500 grams above or below that? Is your box, approximately 12 inches by 3 inches by 8 inches? And you say, well, yeah, how much? So you're 501 grams or 500 or 499 grams? If you say 499, then your cost is anywhere between $11 and $17. If you want tracking, just add $2 to it. But if you're over by 1 gram, your cost is $35.
Wow, that's double. That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Borderline from there.
And here's the crazy thing. Well, what is your cost? Where does the number change when you're at 1,000 grams? I can tell you right now that I sent out a package at 950 grams. It cost me $35. I sent out a package at 503 grams. It cost me $35. So all I can think about is, oh my God, I could easily have stuffed that package with more product into it and still be at $35.
Right.
Think about that. You find your limit
so much more
that the post office gives you, and then you're able to maximize the customer value.
Yeah, you turn those constraints into your advantage by understanding the court you're playing in.
And that's a technical that's a technical way of getting cost-effective shipping and maximizing the value to your customer, to your reader. But here's another thing. One more point is that's the technical aspect. Now, if you want to flip this around and think about the creative aspect,
right?
You have a product. You created a book. It's a story. Why not, ladies and gentlemen, translate it to Spanish, French, and whatever other language?
Oh, yeah.
You have now opened up your market to Italy, to Greece, to France, to Sweden. Right now, they're ordering because your product is an English product coming out of the United States or Canada. Good God, man. What if your product was in German? You're opening up the entire German market.
That's right.
And I'm not going to even talk about Australia. Forget it. If you're going to translate it to Aussie, you're done.
Now, those are marketing strategies, and I appreciate that. But that's a little bit off of what I was talking about, though.
So
reiterate. I want to stick
to.
Hold on. Let me get this out. I want to stick to the point of improving the value for your customer. I don't want to go to that direction. I understand what you're saying, George, but I want to stick to improving the quality. And this is
Certainly.
and the reason why is this is why you see so many projects that offer bookmarks, trading cards, posters, all of these things as stretch goals that go into every perk. Right. The reason they're doing that is because it is improving the value based on the weight of cost for shipping. Right. Because it gives you more for what you're paying for. It allows, as the campaign goes up and it allows that pricing to be covered beyond the initial costs, it allows to add quality. And that's what George is talking about here. And this is a very smart thing to do. It's a cool thing to do. And with Beowulf talking about the offsetting the cost, we already are. Just from our personal experience here with Tales from Beyond the Gate, I can't talk about other projects, but with our personal experience, we're already doing that. Where the for instance, the shipping prices that we're using, that's not covering all our shipping. It's not. So there is already that's already built into the project, and by adding and this is a learning experience for me too. This is why these projects put all these little extra things in there. It's to increase the value for you to offset those costs that have to come in, and I think it's very clever. And it's as a consumer, it's cool too.
Oh
Am
yeah,
I
yeah.
correct, George? I mean, I've expressed that correctly, right?
You are correct. And the gentleman, I don't know what's your name. You wanted to put a point out. Please go ahead. I'll wait until after that.
Well, I got something.
Go ahead.
One of those kind of teetering on that, and I'm going to make sure I get back to the quality aspect, but teetering back from marketing to quality. There's a movie coming out soon that's going to be released in the theaters in America, and then it's going to be released on Netflix to internationally. So in that regard, you could do like a print copy, and then digitally for international people or nationally. So you just cut out the whole shipping idea and say sorry, that's not possible. Just for that, because of the small size, which goes back to the quality of that. And Chester's right. There's a lot of things that we're trying to increase the value of your buy with some of those smaller items, and dare I say gimmicks, because this world is a gimmick world. You look at how America's Got Talent does their shows. The people that you remember aren't necessarily the people that have the greatest voices and singing and stuff, but they have some gimmick that goes along with it. Maybe they're flashy, maybe they're fully painted up or something, right?
Mm.
And then in that regard of quality, that's also what this Indiegogo movement is about, because there's amazing writers and artists that we don't know about yet. And there's some people that we do know about who aren't necessarily the greatest quality. And all of that just has to be put out there, put up front. All of the projects have to be available. The quality will rise up. And if you're not of the quality, and that's where each creator has to do some soul searching and say, hey, what are my failings and what am I good at and where's my market? So that they can at least get the quality to those people that want what they have, versus trying to, slam a product out there to everyone when, as we've said before, hey, you're just not ready yet. But that's going to come about because as you get more of these projects going on, you'll find who those good people are. More collaborations will come together, like Tales from Beyond the Gate, and you'll get more and more quality to the independent comic consumer.
Yeah. Very good point. And we got a few comments here from the chat, and then we'll continue. Bill, instead of speaking it, has written it. He says, "Hey, Dr. Nick, I have a protrusion on my clavicle, and it moves. Should I be concerned?" Okay, that's totally off topic, Bill. All right. Samurai Sid
It's Dr.
says,
Nick, though. I was just kind of wanted to talk
That's
to the doctor for
I
a
get it.
second.
Yeah, the doctor. It's important to have doctors. Samurai says how much to translate and how much demand in other countries. Could maybe give info on Mike Biller trying to distribute the Meg in Japan and China or not. Yeah, Mike could talk to me about that actually. I do translations and such. I had spoken to him about that, and he just hasn't pulled the trigger on it. He could. Would be a monumental effort on my part, but I did tell Mike I would help him with that. As far as doing
But
it
you
in other
didn't answer.
languages, I could help with that too, huh?
But you didn't answer the question. It's how much would it cost to get a
I
at
see.
a
Well, so
general
how much
question.
would I charge? I see.
Not you, but in general, a translator.
Translators usually get paid per hour. as far as standard translation. I don't do that kind of stuff. What I do is something very different, and I get kind of like a more like a salary type of thing, really. But
So that's not really a market that you're familiar with, then.
no,
Or-
that kind of translation, I usually what I do something very different. I'm part of a granted project, so it's a different
Okay.
situation. So I really don't know offhand exactly how much, but I do know they get paid hourly. Of course, that would be a simple thing to research, I'm sure. But
But honestly, all right, Sid, that's a great question. That's going into my notes for my big spreadsheet.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, and we could think about doing those things. It's a really good point George makes. Let's continue here. Argos, once again, talking in the chat instead of here. Thing is, we haven't even interacted with the international comic community that I know of, but they have to know about Comicsgate. Now this is an interesting point. The This community actually is fairly international. We have lots of people from different places. The only thing is, it's mainly English speaking. It's not completely English speaking, but it is mainly so. So that is a fair point. But I mean, and we've had another fan speak where we were talking about French comics, right? And
Right.
they
Hmm.
talk about what a ridiculous boom they got going over there. So having stuff in French would be extremely useful for us. Now, I could help with that, but probably someone would be better at that. It's not a bad idea. We should really the community should think about these things. And let me do one more here real quick. Vailness says $46 Canadian is the lowest shipping possible. Wow. Yeah, no. It's not $46. It's 35, I believe. That's American money.
Right.
So maybe that's simply a translation from American to Canadian. Yeah, no, it's ridiculous, Vailness. We agree, and that's even when they're being offset. Beowulf says English, Chinese, Spanish. Those are the big ones. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
And then you missed Dr. Nick said, Argos Creations, let me know what you want removed and I'll cut it out. So I've got to get a professional opinion there. So
Yeah, you do. You do.
feels so much better. I can sleep tonight. Thank you,
Jeez.
Dr.
Okay.
Nick.
These are all interesting points. These are all it's an interesting conversation, and it helped me a lot talking with you yesterday, George, because it gave me an understanding about things that I hadn't really understood before. Like with I don't know how other people think, but when I had getting projects before, they'd have all these little bits and bobs and say, "Oh, that's cool," and then it gets set aside, you know. But now I understand why they're doing it, and the reasoning behind it, and I respect it more now too, because they're doing their best. They're thinking about you, is what they're doing. If you have a project that isn't adding anything to it, well, they don't care about you, right? The people who are doing that, it's because they're thinking about how they can make the experience better for you within the restraints of cost that they have. And
All
this is
right.
why we hear so many of these projects saying, "Oh, well, we out of pocket, we really need to make money on it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." And that's why it's right there and clear, right?
Because they were amateurs. They weren't thinking
Yeah,
about
that's right.
the end product and the savings and quality you get to your customer. They're looking at how much money can I make off this.
Yes, a lot of what has just been said in the last 5 minutes is yes, absolutely. They are amateurs, but they're amateur in their approach and not amateur in as a holistic sense.
Right, right.
Let me give you a little example. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, actually, 5 years ago. Wow. Um, I came, I came to the mindset that I wanted to figure out how to produce an animated feature film at the level of Pixar. But I don't have 30, 40, 60, $100 million. So I went to the effort of actually understanding the entire production process of the whole thing, and I actually costed out to just under $10 million. And that's been very, very reasonable, very conservative. Everybody's getting paid top dollar, and none of the work is being shipped overseas. It's all being done here in Toronto. And then I sat back and I said, "Why the hell are their numbers so high?" And I had my spreadsheet vetted by professionals. People who have been in the business for 30, 40, 50 years. They said, "Yeah, those are real numbers. Everything that you have there, including speaking dialogue. Anything less than 4 sentences spoken, the price changes dramatically for the actor. If you take a 5 sentences and you cut it down into one sentence, you're saving a lot of money on voice acting. Yeah, I'm just throwing this as an example. But here's the thing. When I discovered very quickly that it was all the buffer, all the stuff that they're shoving on top of it, the producer's profit, all that stuff. These guys are taking 70% of the money that goes into making a movie for themselves into their pocket. It's not going to the artists. That's why you hear Keanu Reeves giving away, was it 50, 60, 70, I don't know, what, $90 million of the money that he made out of The Matrix, and gave it all to the creative staff that was actually doing this visual effects.
Yep.
Wow. That's interesting.
There's a lot of what do you call it? A misconception on the whole process, and when the customer, you have beyond the gate, it's a great product. I know it's a great product. I've seen the passion behind it, all the work, and the level of effort in the art and the story. A customer is going to get a really good product in their hands, and that's a great thing. Now, how do you make the customer's experience that much more enjoyable, but still saving yourself the money to actually make a dollar for yourself, and also not go over on the shipping and all that stuff? Because the value, you as an artist and as a writer, you are not taking into the value of your effort.
No.
Everybody's looking at, the printing's going to cost this much, the shipping's going to cost this much. Oh, the pens and the papers I'm going to have to buy to make the book and all that stuff's going to cost this much. Okay, what about all that time and effort and energy, the late night, the sweat equity? Where's the value of all that?
Angry wives. Don't forget that. That's important.
I am there. I am there too. And angry children, or frustrating children, not angry. But where's the money there? Where's the money that you're gonna tomorrow? You're gonna go over to the variety store and buy yourself some bread, milk, and eggs to feed yourself. Where is that money? And that's where the logistics of finding out exactly from point A to point B how much it's going to cost for you to draw that page, get it colored, get it written, get it edited, get it printed, get it packed up, get it shipped, and have it sitting in the customer's hand. A very happy customer. And what makes a happy customer? Well, okay, here's a book. Well, okay, it's going to cost you this much plus shipping. Okay, well, here's a trading card. How much is the trading card going to cost you? Well, if you're going to do enough of them, like say 500 plus trading cards, one or a series of them, they're going to cost you 25 cents a card. I'm just throwing conservative numbers here, but that 25 cents has to be added to your reward.
Yeah.
But in terms of the customer.
And there's something else that happens in there once you give them that, right? Once you've decided that it's a certain amount of money and you've given them that and they expect that, right? There's opening it up, right? There's actually what's inside there and what is the content. And I think that's one of the things that now that we're at that point, because there's been a lot of Indiegogo campaigns and there has been a lot of books that are still out there. Some are in people's hands, but the ones that we get in people's hands that they're already there and coming have to have, like you said, that great art and those great stories. And we see the great art. It's easy to see the great art that's there. It's on the Indiegogo campaigns. It's on all of the live streams that people are doing. The stories, on the other hand, that's the thing, and that's really going to make this thing, because we've said before, it's the artwork that makes you buy the comic book and the story that makes you come back. And so that's where we're going to do this thing. And you mentioned writer in specific, and I'm sure Chester and I perked up. There's something else that's involved here, and that is the fact that we have changed our schedules. This is what Chester has said before. This has altered our lives.
Yep.
And many of us, though, have jobs.
Yep.
So we actually have the availability of saying, I don't necessarily need to have this comic be successful to put food on the table. You know, I'm doing that. I'm safe. I got a safe ground. The pro who wants to do, you know, the comic book full time, yes, that's an entirely different matter, and that's where you're talking about getting those dollars, and 4 to 1. You know, for the rest of us, for the rest of the independent, I guess that's the difference between the independent concept is I can take a step back, and I don't necessarily have to have this come out now and have to get it into the multi thousands of hands at this time. I need to get it out there enough, going back to the story aspect of it, so that people see the story and they see the writing. Then they get to know that character. Then they say, I want more. When the demand starts driving comics gate and independent movement, that's when you'll see a lot of changes being made, I think.
Yeah. Well, no, I agree with you, dude. And I literally have to schedule time to be with my wife. I'm not joking. But there are the chat has been really interesting today, and I really appreciate your interaction with us today, guys, because this
Yeah.
is it is a very interesting topic, and it's an important one. Dave here makes a very good point. He says, "Would physically printing in multiple regions, continents, offset shipping costs? Of course it would. But here's the problem: how do you justify doing that for 2 books in Australia, 3 books in Norway, or et cetera, et cetera? You can't.
No, you can't.
This is why the direct market distribution helps, because they'll send thousands, and this is how they can do
So
it so cheaply, right?
yeah, exactly. So I mean, the idea is this would build. The goal is that this builds, and that therefore then making it an international product is feasible.
Yeah.
But
And I think, Bill, the point hold on a second. The point out, what I think that's coming out here is this. A lot of us in Comicsgate, or whatever you want to call it, are here because we have been shunned. Our opinions have not been heard, and there's people who are hearing our opinions, and we're getting things being made that we want, and we want to support that because in the end, we want to save comics as we see it, right? And
yeah,
we know,
that's
yeah,
why I'm here, because I
exactly.
don't want to see the industry collapse. This is a beautiful, amazing
That's right.
uh,
But the thing is,
ability.
it's more than just yay fun. There are logistics involved here. And therefore, getting behind it, staying behind it, keeping enthused, and supporting, what we can do, the way we support, because we're fans, is with our money, right? That's how we make
Yeah.
this happen. And it's important that we keep doing that, because this can grow into a distribution model like we've been talking about here. And Samurai Sid says something very interesting here. He says more Mandarin, but Hong Kong Cantonese has more actual comic racks on the streets. At least they did when I was there 10 years ago. Now he's making a point about trying to sell in China, which Mike was thinking about doing for his Meg. But here's the thing about that, Samurai. This was true about 15 years ago. I mean, I've been in Hong Kong and down in that area, and yeah, but it's actually shifted. All of China now is big into manga, right? This has moved north too, dude. So yeah, there is a huge market there, just like there is in France. But in order for us to get to that point, we need to build this community to a point that it is large enough that that it can publish, print, and distribute on its own merit, right? And in order to
Mhm.
get there, we have to keep supporting these things and keep spreading this word until it becomes big enough to do that. I mean, for me, that is the long-term goal. And I'm hoping that we can get there. Let me see here. Nick W says, "Would you be able to sell to Japan audience?" I could try. I am working on a couple things personally in that area. I do have contacts out with various people. I'm also trying to make contacts with a guy who is the creator of My Hero Academia here in Japan, and trying to get some rights with him. And I'm doing other things as well. So if I can get those rights and get access to those things, I might well be able to do something that not only can I sell here in Japan, but I can sell internationally as well. But
That brings
yeah.
up an interesting
So then,
point, because if you're selling internationally or you're selling in Japan, right, that means that someone has to go through you to use you in that capacity, right?
Mhm.
And that's where you gain first that trust, which comes right with credibility, and that comes with working together, and that's what we're doing here at the moment. We're building a lot of that equity of credibility. And so once that happens, then people can say, hey, I know Chester, part of the community, he does this, that, and the other part of this particular project, and he can then distribute. I can use him as an avenue to do that because I can trust him to do that effectively. And that, of course, once again, that comes through time.
Well, and then that takes it also to the next level, all of us to the next level, where it's no longer a hobbyist. And we actually have to be incorporated, because you start dealing with other companies, other businesses. They're not going to, you have to be a business to work with, to be in business, I mean, just to make it simple without getting into all the details. So that goes on to the whole another, that's like phase 3 of Comics Gate, I guess, is turning into.
Mike Miller said the very same thing yesterday, dude. He even used the word phase 3, because he's saying that in reference to us, the Tales from Beyond the Gate, this community project, we are phase 3. It is the beginning of phase 3, and that's a very good point he made, I thought.
We're
honestly, it's like we have to incorporate and be like a zero profit company.
It's kind of what it's working at. Yeah. For the beginning. Yeah.
That's usually the cut. This is the investment. It is literally the investment.
It is. You're right.
No. You give them the free one first, right? And then they come back.
But
speaking of which, on that line, ValeNet asked a good question: did they address digital yet?
Now that is a good question. Digital is a way to save money, right? But it also brings up a whole nother problem, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't. I can speak directly to this right now.
Please do.
Awesome.
Okay, my campaign, which will be coming up, takes into account digital and print, and here's how here's how it can work. And I know this because I've mapped it out to the nth degree. I mean, right down. So you want to start off with a strategy that the one sale that you make on Indiegogo, it is your entire campaign. You made that one sale, your campaign's successful.
Okay.
Here's where digital comes in. For digital, up to 1,000 books, you can actually get the books printed digitally and distribute them to the customer, and and still maintain a small margin. When your Indiegogo campaign goes beyond 1,000 orders, 1,000 books, then you can send it off to the press, and your margin is actually now quadruple that of the digital margin. So you're able, in a small sense, be able to produce the book and get it to the customer and still have a very small margin of profit come in. But as soon as you hit 1,000 books, you can move your production to print, and your margin just became 4 times.
Oh, yeah, I like your theory. I'd love to see your numbers. We have
it's not a theory.
No, I mean I'd love to see how you put that together, because I'm really intrigued. That sounds.
Base the model on the amount that you're selling.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If you sell less, you use a different model. If you sell more, you change the model. Yeah.
Yeah. The moment your model becomes a higher number, say you hit 2,000 books, well, you're still in print. But anything below the margin of print, where it doesn't make sense to stay in print, that's when you stay digitally. So you have to account for, when you do your Indiegogo campaign, you do not account for per book on a printing press. You account per book on a digital press. And when you get to that higher number of orders per book, I'm not talking about the number that you bring in terms of cash. I'm talking about per book. As soon as you're per book, one customer, one book order, you get to 1,000 books ordered, then you can easily switch to the print model, and you have higher margins at that point. But your entire Indiegogo campaign hasn't changed. Your delivery is still the same. Your little trinkets that you're putting into the product to make it a value-added product for the customer, it still hasn't changed. The only thing that has changed is you go from digital press to offset press.
It sounds like a stretch goal concept. Like,
No, it's not really a stretch goal. It is and it isn't. If you want to put it as a stretch goal, the stretch goal is, it's not, oh, you bring in $10,000, we're going to do this. No. It's, you get 1,000 orders.
right.
That is,
And you
that
could do
is-
that. You could say that the stretch goal of so many orders means we go to print versus digital.
that's right.
And you know,
That's
Yeah.
But it all goes back to marketing.
it does. And seeing as digital these days is like automatic, because everything is that we're doing everything over the internet, so everything is digital anyway. It's a very easy thing to do. But with that said, though, we have been talking logistics for an hour, and there's still 23 people here. I'm shocked. But thank you all for
Well,
staying with us, because, well,
I mean,
it's important, I know,
mean,
but it is boring too.
yeah. But remember, this is a community of creators as well.
That's true.
So they may be listening and learning for their own campaigns, or creators who are, are about to launch. And, we might have just said something that they weren't thinking of, and they have time to, or maybe they're going to rush now and say, oh, crap, how am I going to think about this now? Because this wasn't thought about before because they didn't know. And that's been the truth of the world since beginning. I didn't know about this,
It's true.
but now that I do, I need to, maybe think about it a little bit more and figure out, if this can be changed, or, figure out throughout the campaign something else to be aware of.
And just to enhance that, not just the people in the chat tonight, but in perpetuity and for eternally on the internet. Anyone can look up this and start to
Perpetuity?
learn.
Is that the word you want?
Perpetuity.
Yeah,
Thank
perpetuity.
you. I'm ignoramus. But
No,
it's all right.
okay, hold on a second. Paulus has a question here for you, George. And yes, DeWolf, I was paying attention. Paulus says, is he talking about digital printing or straight digital like PDF? That's a good question.
No. Digital printing, 100% physical. I also recommend in the initial offering, never to offer a digital download. Don't do it. At the very beginning, you offer a physical product.
Yep.
You wait until you're like 3 or 4 issues down the line, and then you offer the digital offering of your first issue.
Yep.
Because it's lack of a better description. I'm sorry to be rude like this, but it's a lazy way of doing work. If you offer a digital book, people will take the digital book, and they'll say, okay, I gave you a couple of bucks. Here's a digital book. They got the same reading value as everybody else who's going for the physical book, who are spending at a higher value. They still get to read the same product, a different medium, but they're still.
So you don't think you get the? I mean, my devil advocate is you get the customer who isn't willing to spend that much, but would throw down a few dollars to get the book instead.
Yes, but they can for those customers, you can wait 2 or 3 issues down the line. Why? Because digital itself, however wonderful it is, it has a tendency of easily copied.
That's true. And
I'm not-
also,
well,
you could save
I'm
that
not
as a
saying-
later stretch goal, right? You could
That's
do
right.
that too.
You can add that as a value to your second book. You say, get the digital of the first book. So you missed out on the first book because we're not reprinting the first book. Great. Here's a digital copy of the first book.
Wow.
Having a supplementary catch up to like the previous issues is a great idea. But when it comes to pirating, that's really, once it's printed, there's no control. I mean, everything is going to be pirated at this day and age.
It's true, but see, the problem is pirating. At the early stages of piracy regarding comic books, there was an effort by the people who actually pirated to actually buy the book, put it on the flatbed scanner, flip the page, scan, flip the page, scan. It was an effort, and it was also an art in some sense of the word. But now they don't do that anymore. They don't buy the book. It's all digital. It's offered on Comixology or everywhere else. Somebody buys one copy on Comixology and passes it on to their buddy. You're done. And this the whole thing about digital rights manager. That's all BS.
Yeah.
You won't be able to copy this book onto another platform. Are you kidding me? There's such a thing as screen grab.
Right. Oh yeah. All you have to do is clip it and done. But when it comes to, and Velnet brings up a good point. He's like, I would buy the digital book because the shipping is more than twice that I have paid for the other campaigns. Also, no signature, so not as much as a collectible.
That's right. That's a wonderful customer, and no problem, selling to customers who want the digital copy. But
that's true.
That way, it benefits everybody. It benefits the people who want just the digital, and also benefits the people who don't want, who missed out on the book. So you can do that with two birds with one stone by offering a digital copy of the first book when you offer the second issue.
Yeah, that's a a good idea.
Right. And you're right. I mean, Velnet is a one customer.
Let me catch up with the chat, guys. Okay. Beowulf says, when I looked into the numbers, I had a lot of wind taken out of my sails. This kind of information is paramount for success. Yes, it is. That's why we're talking about it. Because a lot of campaigns, including Sales from Beyond the Gate, it runs into these problems because it's basically a solo project in a way, even though this one has like 20 people on it, because we have no distribution and we have to do it directly. And you, the customer, or us, the customer, because we're still fans just because we're part of this project, we have to suck that up. And that's kind of the unfortunate thing about this initial process. In the long run, this community is going to turn into something as long as we stay behind it, we stay enthusiastic, and we keep pushing it, right? Because it's up to us. It's up to us. It's not up to Ethan Van Sciver. It's not up to Mike Miller. It's up to us. This is our pilgrimage, right? They're just they're just the glowing light that we are trying to keep afloat, right?
And they're the trailblazers, and that's good. But yeah, people have to settle and be the frontiersmen, and make it happen. Yeah. And Denali, you're right. I mean, like the comment, I cut you off, or we cut you off, Denali. What were you just saying?
I was saying, and we're gonna learn, and that's basically it. We have so much talent, you think, hey, I can't draw, I can't write, but you might be good with calling people and finding out about things. You're good at making connections. You're good at being that middleman. You may speak different languages. There's always a skill and a need for it. We don't know how to put that in because we don't know the information needed. But as we're talking about it right now, look how much information we got. How much, maybe there's a person who knows about tariffs or printing, or has connection with a printer off site, and we do a campaign, it's like, hey, for our international, this is our only for US domestic ones, but don't worry, we're going to do another campaign for international because we have an international printer contact because of our community. We will get to that point and build that.
That's right. That's right. And maybe Beowulf could be a point of contact in Australia. I mean, he does have the sexy voice for it. Absolutely. Much more than much more.
Sexy voice would go a long way on a phone call.
Pope Rick says Rick is the glowing light. All right. Dave, thanks for backing the book from Bill here. Yeah. All right, guys. Now we have this topic. We could go for hours, I think, going into every little minutia, but I think we covered the general concept here, which is we need as a community to keep pushing until this becomes something big enough to where it can become its own nexus of distribution. And we see a lot of those little things going on and happening, so it's going to happen eventually, but in the interim we just need to keep putting our support behind things as we do. So let's move from this topic and let's go and cover some of the news that we have prepared for you today. But just before I do that, real quick, anybody have any final comments they would like to make on this subject?
I do, but I'll wait for everybody else to speak.
Okay.
Hey, all right. Well, Todd, your turn. I just volunteered you.
Tag.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's still long haul. You know, you want the best. You really. Do I have to say it? Do you want the best advice on how we're going to be proceeding forward? You got to watch the opening of every FanSpeak to see what the chairman address is. And I've laid it, I've laid it out. A lot of that comes down to long haul, hanging in there, coming together, unity, and things like that. And this is not something that's just gonna happen instantly. It's gonna take some hard work, and at least we have, like I say, that strength of coming together as long as we keep that strength coming together.
Awesome. Next.
All right. So I just want to remind that before Marvel, DC, and the big publishers became a big publisher, there were a group of, fanboys who bought this and started selling, getting the whole wholesale and selling it to customers because they were so happy about the books and they wanted it easier access. And guess what that transformed to? That transformed into the direct market. The comic book shop that's now become the Diamond distributions. So what we're doing again is it's just a return back to form. We're now those individuals back in the 50s and 60s and 70s that's building that new distribution model again.
Can I be Stan Lee? Can I be Stan Lee? I want to be Stan Lee.
No.
No, you don't sound like a. You don't have enough Brooklyn in you, man. I'm sorry.
So, well, Stanley was more of the writer, but we're talking about the people who trailblazed distribution, direct market. That's what we're working on. And what you're really doing is, as much as you're buying these awesome books from us and, from Mike Miller, from EVS, from Doug Knaple, and from other creators, the Brightwisers as well, and John Malin and Richard Myers, you are also investing in the future. And you're also investing, saying, hey, with my money, I'm investing in the process that these comics will continue. And for that, we're thankful.
T-Bird and Throttle, baby.
Yeah.
Nice.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I was going to say there's never been a time in comic books where there's been such a schism. There's never been like a time where people who want to do their own thing have been so derailed and attacked. And there's never been a time better than now to get on board and make a difference. I mean, the odds are stacked against us. All kinds of people are hating us, but we know what we're doing is the right thing. And this is when great things happen. When you're under pressure, when you're under attack, when you're scrutinized, and you lead with your heart and you lead with your head, and people accomplish amazing things under that kind of pressure. This is a great period for our industry. And if you have any inclination, if you've been sitting on the fence and you want to do something, but you don't draw, you don't write, there's still all kinds of opportunity to be part of it. We just talked for like an hour and a half of like all sorts of needs and aspects that we need to research and look into. You could fit into that. So get on board. If you want to get on board, I mean, I'm Argos Creations at Twitter, DM me, and or Light in the World, DeWolf on Twitter, or Chester Busby or Denali, and any one of us would definitely give you a handshake and bring you on board, and let's get to business, and let's make this industry amazing.
That's right. Awesome. George.
I would like to end with real world example of how to actually become a worldwide distributor by saving yourself a tremendous amount of money on shipping. And I am going to say this because I'm just finished formulating it in my head as we have been speaking. And this is based on the people that are here in the chat and the wonderful people that are listening to us on YouTube. And here's a scenario, and I believe this is not hypothetical anymore. Digital printing 10, 15 years ago would have cost $100 for a 32-page book. Digital printing today, depending on how much you order, will cost you anywhere between $5. You offer the book at a reasonable price, plus shipping and all that stuff, and you will still be able to come off with a small profit margins for you to continue. And that's key in all this, is you have to make a profit. This is not a starving artist scenario anymore. You know, that's just a bogus myth that's been happening for so many years now. And here's where the real world example comes into effect. We have a wonderful person that is right in this chat and is in Japan. You want to sell to your customers in Japan. No problem. The first thing to do is to find a digital printer in Japan. Chester will find that digital printer in Japan. The book gets produced here in North America. You send the files to Chester and say, Chester, there's like 6 people who ordered the book in Japan. Chester says, okay, no problem. Calls up the digital printer, say, you know, the files you have on file that you've set up, you know, please print me 6 more copies. And Chester drops by, picks up the 6 copies, puts it in the mail inside the country to be delivered somewhere inside the country in another location. You have just removed the monumental cost of overseas shipping and tariffs.
Oh yeah.
And $240 for 6 people, by the way.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. So,
and you know, is Chester's time worth the effort? Yes, it is. And the price of the book being delivered to him, Chester gets a little, you know, money towards him for his efforts, and that's called shipping and handling.
Yeah.
Right. Chester's handling. His time is worth it. So, out of those 6 books that were sold, let's just throw a number out there. I'm just hypothetical on the numbers, okay? Let's say the entire reward is $200. Out of the $200, Chester gets 25, 50 bucks out of that equation. You know, how much did it cost to print the books? Did it cost well, digitally speaking, everybody can find out. You know, you find a good digital press, it'll cost you a good solid $5 at minimum.
About $18 here to do that, I'd say.
Okay, whatever. You get where I'm going. You have said this many times in this chat and all of the other chats. This is an international group of artists coming together in Comicsgate to put together some wonderful product and go directly to the customer. Well, logistically speaking, you are also the very distribution system that can bypass international shipping by it saying, hey, I'm in Canada. I'll handle the files to your orders in Canada. Chester's in Japan. He'll handle the files for fulfillment to Japan. Unless it's something very specific that has to go in a box and be shipped up to Japan. A digital book is a digital book that you send by email, and you get printed in that country to be shipped within that country. If I took your book in Canada, in the United States, it's a 32-page book, and you sent me the high-res digital files, and I go to press with it. For me to ship it to another part of Canada is anywhere between $5 and $8.
Mm-hmm.
Done.
Or maybe you printed in America, and Todd has his thing opening and it's echoing. Thank you very much.
Whoa.
That's all right. I'll fix it. I got it right here. No problem. The way we fix that. Why? Todd, mute yourself, please. If some reason is not letting me mute you. Mute yourself, please, Todd. Todd.
I want to be.
All right.
Under the
Why? Okay, now Todd came in and caused problems. Todd, please drop and come back in, Todd, please. Todd, thank you. All right. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Or you could just drive across the Canadian border and just go to the post office there and mail them.
That works theoretically, but logistically, they will ask you, "Sir, what's your business coming to Canada?" And if you lie to them and you randomly get picked to be reviewed for whatever reason, you're in a lot of trouble.
Well, that's why we make Booster do it.
Booster is.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying, dude. Yeah, that's we need to set up that model, and I think we have enough people. Yeah, well, I don't know what you're doing to us, Todd, but you're causing trouble. There's enough
Todd,
people
get
in
out
our
of the
community at
bathtub and
various
get on the
places
screen.
that will make that very valuable in the future. We need to look into that and go through it. Yeah, I don't know why. Why all of a sudden Todd comes in and we can't. It's weird, man. And another thing that's odd is I'm looking over here and I can't. It doesn't let me. Yeah, there we go. All right, finally. All right, it got fixed. Oh no, it didn't.
No,
Now it's back. Goodness gracious.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah,
hear
but
me?
you can
I hear the echo, but am I causing it?
You are. Yeah, you are. I don't know why. Because now it's not echoing. Now it is echoing. Well, it's weird. Todd, it's your
Was that?
fault. God,
I'm trying to remember
Todd.
which Cheech and Chong album that was on, man, but I just can't remember, dude. That's
do I have
awesome.
to go?
Reverb.
Yeah, Todd, you're gonna have to drop, dude.
Oh.
Sorry, man.
No.
Oh, we like our Todd.
We do, but
well,
I don't know what was going on with that. Are we still echoing? We are, dude.
Yep.
What the hell? Gary's in here. Hello, Gary. Nice to see you. Why are we getting this problem? I hate this when this happens, man. All right, let me go 1-to-1 here. All right, let's try it here. Bill, mute yourself, please.
I don't want to mute.
All right, no more echo. Bill, turn it back on. Bill, unmute yourself, please. Oh, there it is. It's Bill. Oh, I kicked Todd off for no good reason. That's all right, dude. Just drop off and come back in. It'll probably fix itself.
Sorry, Todd.
Sorry, Todd. But yeah, just drop Bill and come back in. I think it'll be fine.
hopefully they don't have their YouTube on if they're watching as well.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, Bill's been here the whole time, but YouTube does that sometimes, guys. And now we're still getting it. Oh, it's because he re-entered. Wow, dude. All right,
No,
it is what it is. You know what? It's okay, guys. We were going to do news today, but we've been running here long enough. It's fine. Let's just end it where it is.
Hold on, I got one thing. This is a good moment for this, I think. Just because it's also a time sensitive issue. We have a special person, right? We got Dazzler here, and we got George here.
Oh,
George,
no.
George has a special surprise for Dazzler.
Oh, my gosh.
Over here, what was George saying about digital printing? About you get to the consumer what they want at the point of where they want it at, right? So here it is. This is George giving to Dazzler artwork.
Oh, my gosh. You're making me cry. Give her a hug and kiss for me. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
She is so happy. I wanted to share that with George. It's great that you were here today.
Oh my gosh! Thank you so much. That you just made me such a happy artist.
She's the biggest Dazzler fan. She started this year looking at comic books with me, going through this process. She found a Quasar that had she found a Dazzler comic I had with Quasar in it. He's my guy. And then I got her the trade paperback of the Essential Dazzlers. It's like 26 plus a couple of issues of Dazzler. She's been reading through it, and you finished it, and she's so excited, obviously, to get this from you, George.
Oh my gosh, this is exact similar experience I've had with my daughter when she was that young. It's such a wonderful thing. I can't believe it. Thank you so much for making me a part of this. Awesome. I am so grateful, so humble.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I hope. Well, it.
We talk about community, and we talk about all of us have families. So many of us have families. We definitely have friends, even Booster. And so this things like this happening like in this community is really what we want it to be about. So thank you.
Wow.
That is awesome. Congratulations, Dazzler. All
Yes,
right, guys.
congratulations.
We've definitely been hit by the echo bug, and it's here to stay. But we've covered this subject really well. We would need to talk about it more. Here we see that Perth Comics saying he has access to professional printing in Australia. Dude, contact us. Because I know we are through Pixel, I believe, on Indicron. We are collecting that information and trying to build it up. These topics we've been talking about today have been in the works, but oh boy, this echo is bad. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop and we're going to end. So, Denali, take us out.
Join us tomorrow for Bunny Vision Movie Night. We're going to be watching John Wick Chapter 1. Thank you for joining us. And as always, your perception shapes your reality. So let's make it a good one.
Thank you, guys.
Namaste.
Later.
Aloha.